Daredevil Born Again, the Daredevil. The devil is back in Hell's Kitchen there and returned to our TVs there after it was, what, a 7-year hiatus from the.
Yeah, I think the last season was 2018 before this.
Yes. After a 7-year hiatus there, Matt Murdock is back there along with Wilson Fisk, Kingpin there, both played by Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio there. And here in this Daredevil Born Again series, we reviewed the first couple episodes. We had a 2-episode premiere. Me and Sage discussed it. That's on the channel right now, youtube.com. The afternoon, just type it in, and you'll be able to find what our initial thoughts on it was. And then after that, we were kind of waited. We were like, we're going to come back when the series is all done with now. So after now, all the 9 episodes are all out. They're on Disney Plus. This is also going to be a spoiler discussion. So if people have not seen all the 9 episodes, we're going to do a little bit of a general talk about it, maybe give a rating, and then maybe get into a little bit more spoilers after that. But we'll let you know when we get into more spoiler territory there. But with this series, Daredevil Born Again, so it's kind of pitched in a way of a reboot slash continuation of the Netflix Daredevil series that got canceled several years back. Here we see kind of an update, and all that was real time. So this takes place 7 years after of what all happened at the end of the Netflix series. There, we see that Matt is still doing the lawyer thing. We see Karen, we see Foggy there. Foggy not too long. We don't see him. He's not around for too much, but we do see him there initially. And we kind of see the fallout after those events of the first episode. And that basically sets the table for the events of the rest of the season, and where these characters are now. And this show has been embroiled in a lot of controversy, just behind the scenes wise, because they had to restructure basically the entire series. There were some people on it originally that got kicked off it because the cast and crew was so unhappy with what kind of was shown there, and even the upper people at Marvel were not happy about what was going on. Like you mentioned, Kevin Feige, who looked at the product and went like, "Nah, this ain't good." So they had to completely kind of scrap it. Well, actually, not completely scrap it, but to my understanding, that so what people watch in the first episode, now they reshot a lot of that. So that's a lot of the new team that came in who did it. And then episodes 2 through 7 are a lot of material that was the material they had to keep from the past incarnation of the show. And then the last 2 episodes were the episodes mainly from the new creators of the show of what they wanted to do with it. So there's some splicing in of, the newer creators, the newer team kind of coming in doing what they did. But the bulk of it is from the older incarnation of the show that got reworked. So you got
It
that.
feels like a Frankenstein.
Yeah, of kind of other people coming in, all these different writers, because they even had a new writer team as well as a new showrunners to come in with the show. So that also was a thing there with it. So you can kind of feel that in some of it with the series. So Sage, what are your thoughts on Daredevil Born Again here now that it's all said and done with?
Well, it's a lot more positive than what I had to say last time. Um, I'm not going to say that every problem I had at the beginning was addressed fully, um, but I think as it went along, and I know a lot of those middle episodes are that first team, but even those they do start to find a better sense of pacing, and at least Charlie Cox, I feel like, is able to bring a lot of personality to it again. In those first couple episodes, even him I was struggling with, but once it got going, I think he was able to kind of step back into the role and make it engaging again, which he's done in every other iteration up until this point. Unfortunately, and I think he gets there by the end of the season, but unfortunately, even in the middle and the beginning of the last third, I think the Kingpin half of the season, it's still really not working very well until kind of the last episode.
Mm. Yeah, which, like I mentioned, that was from the new creative team, and they are filming a second season right now, and the second season is going to come out next year in March. So they're already doing that right now. It's already filming right as we speak, and that's going to be coming out in March. So yeah, we'll see there. So we'll see fully with this new creative team what they can do there, and if it can be on par with the Daredevil Netflix series. Which, yeah, I mean, when the Daredevil Netflix show came out, it was big because it was like, oh man, this looks really cool, and it was the first of those Marvel Netflix shows, and it set a tone for like this is the bar, of what this can be. And I think it did such an excellent job at that. And then, I was just rewatching it before Born Again came out, and just like when they introduced Punisher came in, that was a fabulous season there. And then the season with Bullseye, who makes a return here again and Born Again, who is still incredibly unhinged as always there. He does a fantastic job. So yeah, I mean, so they had kind of people. The expectations were super high when the announcement was when they announced that it was coming back again, and they were doing another season of the show. And the expectations were super high. I don't know how much reaction you've seen online of how many people kind of feel about it. It feels like I haven't heard a lot of people talk about Born Again. Seems like you know, it just doesn't match the expectations. It seemed like before the series came out, as opposed to after now. I don't know if you feel the same way there. It just doesn't feel like a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I think from what I've seen as far as the reaction goes, I think there's a lot of people who seem either like kind of were like me, where they were like very negative on the first couple episodes, and maybe they eased up on it as it went along, or I think they were okay with it mostly from the start. But I haven't really heard anyone that was like absolutely in love with it. It's
Mm.
either been, oh, they messed it up at the beginning, to, yeah, it's all right. Like that's kind of the range I've been mostly hearing.
Hmm. Yeah, so nobody really raving about it. Nobody going like, okay.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say there's maybe only one scene that I think is rave worthy in the season where I thought it was like, oh wow, that was like great dialogue and great writing here. But I think it still is able to capture the tone and the feel of the original show. I think it takes until the last episode to get there, but I do think it eventually gets there.
Hmm. Okay. And what's going on in this season of Born Again? Well, yet we now have Mayor Fisk. So Mayor Fisk has taken over there. He has now become the mayor of New York. We have Matt there. So this isn't really a spoiler because it's in like the first episode. So we see at the beginning of that episode that Foggy is killed there by Bullseye. After he gets killed by Bullseye, there's a fight between him and Daredevil. But you say you didn't really too much like that fight there between him and Bullseye. I thought it
Yeah,
was
I mean, like, I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was actively like bad, but I did feel like it lacked a certain oomph in terms of what I could actually see a lot of the time on screen. And I don't know if it's the camera work, because I like the lighting and I feel like the choreography looks like it's good, but I guess I just wish it was filmed a little differently.
mm, yeah. And we know Daredevil, that was also a big thing about the Netflix series. A lot of epic fights that happen in that one. Again, I'll reference, season 2 with the Punisher, like that episode where he fights off the motorcycle gang. Like that was really great. He had like a taped the gun to one hand and he had a chain on the other hand and he was going around like that was really great there. But yeah, so you saw that and then he almost kills Bullseye there. He intentionally tries to kill him. But Bullseye, he's got that animanium spine, so he's okay. He's still good there. And yeah, after that, Matt Murdock quits being Daredevil. So we see all these years that he kind of just quits being Daredevil. We see that passage of time. Karen has moved away from New York. She's moved to San Francisco. She's hanging out with Shang-Chi. We see that now Matt is at a more high-priced law firm there. He's got a new partner there that he is with.
Can you tell me one character trait that that character had after watching the whole show?
Yeah, and I've seen that actress in different things, and I like her. Um, and that's kind of one of the issues about this season is like so there's like a new cast of kind of characters there that Matt is surrounded by. There's his other lawyer partner, as I mentioned, and I think her name is uh, geez, what's her name?
Is it McDuffie? I think
McDuffie, was that her
it's
name?
it's a character from the comics, but she in the show, I feel like she has very little screen time in the first place, and then even when she's on screen, it's like it's pretty much only for brief plot exposition to just kind of get Matt somewhere else. I don't feel like that character ever spoke as a character.
Yeah, Nikki M. James is the actress. So you're right. She played Kristen McDuffie as her
Yeah.
name, and yes, they don't really spend a lot of time with her. It doesn't seem like he's like that super close with her, other than a business relation, like a professional relationship, like just kind of friends there.
There's at
So
least one time when she came on screen that I was like, who is like I genuinely had forgotten that she was even a character at all.
so it's like a lot of the newer characters I didn't really click with me, and then he also has an ex cop that works as a private investigator for the firm. Uh, Cherry was his name.
Yeah.
Uh,
He basically just does the Jon Snow thing of every time Matt brings him information, he's like, I don't want it.
yeah, I mean, basically that. I mean, he just kind of comes on, and he knows that Matt is was Daredevil. He knows that, so he has a secret
Yes.
identity.
It's every episode. It's just, hey, Matt, don't do that. And it's supposed to be like when Foggy would have these conversations with him, which would get pretty deep and personal and like fairy filled with character. It feels like a lot of the scenes with the new cast are trying to kind of replicate character dynamics that the old cast had,
Hmm.
but they don't have any character to actually inform those moments. So they kind of just come across as Matt talking to a plot wall to just push him into the next scene.
Yeah, this is not much real development there with a lot of these characters. Like again, I hate to go back to that, but then Netflix shows like, you could follow Karen doing her own thing and
Yeah,
it would be like her own little side mission and then like you could perfectly follow that. Stuff with
it
Foggy.
would be equally as interesting.
Yeah. And stuff with Foggy kind of going on. Like, hit her like her and Foggy having stuff going on. Just maybe even there even sometimes it was kind of maybe Foggy. You saw that he was like a really great lawyer and he would have his moments and doing his thing. Like so in here, this is not really anything like that. And like you said, they're only there just to, provide as a kind of a background choir to Matt and what Matt is doing, and then add that, and then
They
he's
feel like video game NPCs.
mm. Damn, video game NPCs there. So yeah, I mean, they don't really. Yeah, I mean, and I think they're good actors. I mean, I think they have potential to
Yeah,
do more. Like the actor who's playing Cherry, Clark Johnson, veteran actor. He's been in things like Homicide: Life on the Streets, and I think he was in The Wire as well. So he's a classic veteran actor. Then you have his love interest who comes in here, his newer love interest there, who her name, I think it was Karen, wasn't it? Or not Karen. Uh, that's what he
um,
called her when he was in bed. Um,
right. God,
Heather,
I've already forgotten. Heather. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Heather Glenn there. Beautiful woman. Margarita
Oh yeah.
LeVay. Really, really beautiful woman there. And she's a therapist. She's a therapist there. And she kind of comes in again. Not really much there. I mean, was she? And I know people. We're gonna get into it later on, but a lot of people are hating on her. She's the, like getting the Skylar level hate treatment there from some fans. Yeah. Well, but I mean, if you had to pick a weakest link in the supporting cast, who do you think is the weakest link?
I think the McDuffie lawyer partner is the weakest link. I think
Mm.
there's just nothing. There's just literally nothing to that character. She gives a little bit of exposition every once in a while. Like I said, I forgot she was in the show at least once. She just she had, and that it's not the actress's fault, but it's the character's so underwritten. I wouldn't be surprised if she had a lot more screen time in the initial version of the show, and then they just were like, so much of this is what they needed to replace to get those episodes out, and I wouldn't be shocked if that's why she's the way she is, but I just don't think there's anything like Cherry. I think is pretty almost as bad because again, it's just hey Matt, don't do that. Here's a little exposition. All right, see you later. Same thing, sporadic appearances. Probably had more screen time in the first version of the series that they were doing. I think at least the Heather character, like, I don't think she's an amazing character, but she at least seems like she has a somewhat of a personality, and she gets to share scenes with Matt that where he's putting the charm on and he's giving energy, and so there's something to play off in the scene. Whereas in the scenes that Matt has with Jerry and McDuffie, he's very serious and he's not trying to be charming with them. He's just trying to get information out of them real quick. So that's another thing that kind of deflates the potential character dynamic in those.
Mm, yeah. So yeah, and so she's a therapist, and apparently she's the therapist to everybody in New York. Every major character in the show, she's the therapist. She's the therapist to Wilson Fisk and his wife, Vanessa.
Which is some of the worst scenes I think of the show.
She's the therapist to Muse as well. We learn later on. Yeah, so she's apparently like, how can the guy Muse and, well, I guess they established he is, like, he comes from a family of money. I think they do say that, right? His family.
That and it was also that he'd been going around to like different therapists, so it makes sense he would have gotten to her at some point.
Okay, so yeah, so yeah, like the fact that they all share the same therapist, kind of like, okay, not sure, why not? But yeah, so a lot of stuff with her, I felt like, I mean, it just seems like she's in that placeholder girlfriend role. Like, of course,
100%.
Karen's gonna come back, and Karen is really the main love interest for him and everything. So I just feel
That's
like,
who we want to see anyway.
yeah. So it's just like she's just there to till Karen comes back. She's just the placeholder for that. Then you also have kind of like Fisk, kind of what's going on with him and his whole side characters. And you got, for now that he's mayor, he's got his whole mayor staff of people there. One of whom is Michael Gandolfini, who's James Gandolfini. That's his son there. So he's kind of coming up, and then every time you look at him and go like, "Oh, that's James Gandolfini." I mean, those genes are pretty
Right.
strong. That's pretty strong.
I did. There was one episode. I want to say it's when they're at the party in the second half of the season.
Mm.
Him seeing him in like the, I think was it a tuxedo suit he's wearing, or maybe it wasn't. Maybe I'm remembering that wrong. Um, but he like there's a shot of him at a party with a drink in his hand, and I'm like, in like 20 years, that's gonna be like one of the next great Penguin performances in
Oh,
like a Batman adaptation
yeah.
in like another 20 years down the line when he's a little older.
I can see that. Yeah. So Michael Gandolfini there. And then we also have BB Ulrich there, who is the niece of Ben Ulrich, who was the character from the first season there. We saw that. What do you think about Fisk and his supporting cast? He's got his own new Wesley. He's got, I think his
Yeah,
name, what was his name?
we call him
Buck.
Wesley too.
Yeah, Wesley. Well, yeah, basically Wesley 2.0. I mean, yeah.
So even though, so like I said, it did improve a lot for me as it went on. I think a lot of stuff with Matt started working better. I think the Kingpin half is the weaker half of this. And I get what they're going for here. That obviously there's meant to be this parallel between the two characters of they're both suppressing these kind of true selves, right? And these darker personalities. Uh, and I think what makes it not work is I think with Matt you can see not all scenes because they're again you can see the Frankensteining thing of it being kind of stitched together. But I think a lot of Matt scenes you can feel that there's this rage and this like instinct to go and do it and be Daredevil that's bubbling up under the surface. Like you can see him holding it back. And I think what made the Kingpin stuff not work for me is during a lot of that, he doesn't feel like he's holding something in uh, nearly as much to me. And I'm going to assume that it's just the writing here in a lot of these scenes that are from the first team. But I a lot of it just he feels like he's just kind of like monotonously going about this job as though he really is like a changed man, which I think I don't think that's what they're going for. I think they want you to feel like, oh, it's gonna at some point it's gonna slip out and he's gonna go back into his old behaviors, and he does in a certain way, kind of at the a little closer to the end, but I feel like I just don't feel like you saw him having like much of an internal struggle with those instincts. And I think that leaves pretty much until the end, his whole half of the season feeling really flat to me.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, so the title of the show, Born Again, it doesn't really share that much in common with the Frank Miller run of Born Again, really.
Because season three already did.
Yeah, because season 3 did it, and, like, people go like, "Okay, it's him again struggling with, being Daredevil again when he took, down the mantle, now he has to pick it back up again." So it's a lot of similarities there, but, we see that beginning of the series, like you said, you're saying you didn't really get to see that really much with Wilson Fisk of, like, the inside turmoil of, kind of trying to bubble to the surface of his old self. Because we see Matt, okay, he's just trying to stick to being just a lawyer, just doing that. We see Fisk trying to be just a mayor, and trying to do things seemingly kind of the right way and trying to keep the criminal element to a minimum. You have since he was gone, uh, I think because they said he was gone because he got shot in Echo, right? That was the reason why he was in prison, or he's
So Echo shoots him at the end of Hawkeye, but then
Hawkeye.
in Echo, she uses her glowy powers to make him think about his childhood, and he runs away crying, and that's why he's gone for a long time.
Right, he had to that's why he's in therapy. He had to go back to therapy
Yeah.
and process that. So Vanessa had been taken in charge of the criminal empire when he was gone,
Yeah.
and all that was going on, so that happened. So he's trying to, like, settle that. That's where a lot of the beef and tension comes between their relationship is that. But I don't know, I feel like you do kinda see that a little bit, especially, the like, the old him coming back out again, a little bit, stuff like especially in this scene right here, which was one of the funnier scenes of, the season. I love this, scene. This is pretty funny. But let me play it right here. Uh, but this scene where he's actually listening to these kids play, "We Built This City." You
That was a totally interesting moment. These kids are, I mean, let's face it, they're not very good.
Yeah, and he's trying to, like, play it off. We see that he's trying to do, like, the tour of, like, being a mayor. It's like, "Okay, you gotta go to this meeting, and then this meeting, and then you have to do the Latveria celebration day," and all that other stuff like that. And this was just, like, this line delivery was very funny the way he kinda did this because, like I said, these kids suck. I mean, they're not very good. There's that.
Just wonderful. Children have such talent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now for our next one.
No, no, no.
He's like, "Oh, no, that's perfectly fine. No, thank you." But yeah,
Well, then
so
they even double dip on the joke too, because he goes upstairs to the Latvian heritage ceremony, and then there's the school of kids from Latvia singing that song in another language in
yeah.
like the next room he walks into.
Yeah, you can see just the look on his face, like, "Oh my god," like, Jesus. Um, yeah,
It felt like a comedy moment out of something like Silicon Valley or something. Like as funny as I thought it was, it did feel like it was from a different show.
mm, okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, I could see that a little bit, yeah, because but it's just the way it played it was just really
Oh,
good.
it definitely got me on that level.
Yeah. Speaking about stuff like, them trying to weave in, you know, outside MCU stuff into this, Latveria, that's the home country of Doctor Doom and everything.
Oh, so it's actually it is Latvia, which is a real country that they're
Oh, okay,
using
it's
in
not
the show.
Latveria.
It's very close though. It's
Oh,
very close.
okay, so I thought it was that. Okay. But they do bring in like Kamala Khan's dad. There's like a one-off episode, bank robbery episode that they do. With he just loves talking about his daughter. He's proud of his daughter. He's like, my daughter, Kamala Khan. I got a daughter. You don't even think he had a son, even though he's got a
That
son.
felt like the only episode I think in the show that it didn't have that Frankenstein stitched together feel at all, but it felt like it was 100% of it was from the first creative team.
Mm. Yeah. What'd you think about that episode? And then did you catch any other outside kind of lore things working their way into the show there?
So that I mean, they had the bank robber episode. I didn't think it was a bad episode. It seemed so one-off that it didn't really matter to the plot. Um, and I guess I'm not used to that with the Daredevil series. Everything is always building. I don't remember the Netflix series ever having like a one-off like that. I assume that won't be a thing in the second season, most likely. But I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was a decent little. It's like picking up like a little one-issue plot for the comics, so it was still entertaining. The Funko Pop was odd. That was weird. That was a little like weird marketing moment, I feel like. But they don't drop like a ton of stuff that I was noticing. Like references to moments in a Daredevil comic, yes, but not so much in building to like other characters or like other significant things. I think they mentioned the Sokovia Accords maybe once, I think. And then a guy is like throwing every excuse at the wall, and he tries to claim he's a Skrull, which Matt is not impressed by. But for the most part, outside of the Daredevil and then Punisher characters that you're dealing with directly, it doesn't really like eke out into the universe all that much, except for the one-off kind of Miss Marvel centered episode.
Yeah. Yeah, they do that, which I thought was a cool episode. And again, it episode I think serves the purpose of that bubbling of Matt and like, okay, is he gonna
Yeah.
bring out Daredevil? And if you're looking for a Daredevil in this show, we're gonna be waiting a little minute because I don't think he doesn't put on the costume until like what episode was it 6, 7? I think he finally puts on the costume. Um,
I think it's the ending of six.
yeah, because that's where he saves Hector Ayala's niece.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's when he finally.
Who herself is has also been the White Tiger in the comics.
Yeah. So hey, thanks, Hunter. Hey, thanks, Hunter from the Pineapple, man. Much appreciated. So yeah, I think that's. I mean, so after the first episode, you're gonna be waiting a little minute until he finally puts on that costume again, and yeah, it's not until the end of episode 6. Were you annoyed by that of how long it takes for him to put back on the costume?
Yeah, I wasn't because the show started with him in costume at its worst, and it felt like it needed to almost not do that for a little while for me to like I don't know, just like let this character reestablish itself as an actual character. Like give me a number of episodes, make this character feel the way they're supposed to again. Because when it starts the way it does, then it's like it's trying to like kind of rely on a whole different shows and the groundwork of it to make you care. I think not having him be Daredevil for a while allowed me to like build up some level of like, okay, I care about this version of the character again.
Mm, okay, yeah. I didn't mind it too much. I think we got a lot of good still Matt stuff there. Him being a lawyer is also very much important. And since we're talking about Ayala, the niece anyway, the big kind of thing at the beginning of this series was the trial of Hector Ayala, which I thought was going to go a little bit longer, but that ended pretty relatively quickly, where we see that he got involved to these cops there, and he ended up killing one of them. Then he gets put on trial. What do you think about a lot of the lawyer stuff involved in Matt there, especially like with the trial of Hector?
Some of those scenes were all right. I think there's some moments that are maybe a little fast. Like I feel like maybe you don't get to know him as well as you can, as well as you could to really make like this having this guy's plight be like really sympathetic and endear him to the audience. He's not bad by any means, but I definitely feel like it felt rushed through.
Mm. I feel like that was the case with a lot of episodes, like kind of story arcs this season. Was like, okay, you had
Hughes as well.
The Hector Ayala. Oh yeah, I mean his is pretty short there for sure. Him, and then the stuff with Muse. I thought like I was like it's kind of a shame. I think that character, 'cause I think it's a cool character, cool concept for a character, and he's a relatively new character in the comics.
And
Um,
I mean, he's got powers in the comics. He has a whole different personality than what was on display here. It was kind of a weird adaptation of that.
yeah, it kind of feels like they were trying to do like the Riddler from the Batman a little bit mixed with
It did have that
Hannibal.
feel.
Yeah, like yeah, it kind of seemed like they were trying to do a little bit of that with him. Um, so yeah, I was like, that was only like a couple episodes. Like they find out there's a serial killer, then they discover the serial killer who the person is. Then he's already defeated, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, that's in the course of 2 episodes. I was like, oh, okay. And then stuff with Hector Ayala, um, him being on trial, then getting off, and then putting right back on the same night he gets free.
Yeah. I was saying that when that happened. I was like, you could have at least maybe waited like the weekend or something. You know.
Like, at least see, like, an internal debate of, like, "Oh, I don't know if I should get back out there again," or, "I don't know," and
Yeah.
something. He's just like, "No, I'm gonna go right back." It's like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, everybody knows who you are. Your identity's
You
been
haven't even
exposed.
gone to sleep yet. Like,
Yeah, it's like, come on, man. Like, damn. Oh, okay. And then there was that. And so, yeah, that was yeah, that was a little crazy. So he gets killed, and then we learn that the killer was part of this vigilante rogue cop squad there, this gang within the police there that very much identify with the Punisher. They wear the Punisher thing there. Is that from the comics there as well? There.
yeah. I mean, like the exact way the story arc is plays out in this is definitely not like verbatim the comic storyline, but the general concept is very much a thing in the comics, and Frank has a equally brutal response to it.
Yeah. And we see that, and we see this kind of gang, and something that Fisk kind of employs to carry out his will there. These disaffected cops there who've been put on the bench or demoted or not off the force, but just given kind of other smaller duties there because of they've had incidences of excessive violence, excessive force, or things of that nature. And then so he assembles the squad of these kind of people there to carry out his will there, this anti vigilante squad there, no mask or anything like that, to carry out his will. And we see that kind of grow to kind of a boiling point, especially towards the latter part of the series here, which we're going to get into more in spoilers. But I was it as good as I was maybe hoping for it coming back? Is it on par with what Netflix did with the Daredevil series? I don't think so, but I don't think that doesn't mean I don't think it can get to that point. I still think there's a lot of things to really like about this season. I think that Fisk and Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox are still worth watching as the two characters there, and to see their kind of development over the course of this season is still very good. Um, I think, like I said, one of some of the weaker parts of this is the supporting cast around them. A lot of the newer characters, it just feels like I said, they're just there to take up space to have somebody else there. None of them are as interesting as like the supporting cast we had in the original series. Like with Karen and Foggy, and with people like Ben Urich, and people like uh, who's another really great supporting character from that show.
They
Um,
have the first Wesley.
First Wesley example, yeah, people like him. So that had a really great kind of supporting cast there with people that you love to watch and follow there. And I don't think the same case is for this. But seeing kind of a lot of those people come back is really great in there. Like I mentioned, the actor who plays Bullseye there, to see him kind of come back is really great as well. And to see him, is the action there's a lot of brutality in the show for sure. I mean, there's a lot of really great scenes. I know you saw that scene. I think it was it in the yeah, it was in the trailer. That scene where he breaks that dude's leg where he just puts his full force.
Yeah, that's a good scene.
That's like, damn, bro. Like Jesus. Man, come on. And he just kind of does that. Like that's a little rough there. And
The
it
Punisher
gets
gets to be very brutal too.
like this. Oh yeah, that's the scene right there. Like, damn, bro. Like, ugh, like Jesus Christ. Punisher gets to be very brutal in this. So if you want that, and there's a scene with Kingpin at the last episode that's very brutal there. So if you're looking forward to that,
I
so
was surprised by that, honestly.
me too. I was not expecting that. Like a invincible moment there with him. So I was not expecting that. So that's, I think, something that carries over from the show. Which I think it's, I'd say, even more brutal than what Netflix did. I would say.
I definitely the Kingpin moment is for sure.
Yeah, because like, I mean, when the Matt has that fight with those cops, I mean, he breaks their arm, and you can see the bone popping out and blood and all this other stuff. So yeah, I mean, definitely.
You see the Punisher like blow through people's faces with shotguns, and you see the meat like there's just a hole with meat spilling out of it.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, got that. He throws a hatchet in somebody's face, and you see that like doesn't cut away. Like, so yeah, a lot of that. So if that's what you also, it's like if you were worried that hey, this is going to be on Disney, are they going to keep the same level of gore or stuff from the show? No, they do, and they maybe even increase it a lot. With that.
Makes me wish the Moon Knight show hadn't come out until after this.
Yeah, because I mean, if this is Moon Knight, he'd be passing out, then waking up, and then it'd be just bodies everywhere, and go like, well, "What the fuck was this?" uh,
There's a period of history in Moon Knight's comic where the thing he was most famous for was cutting people's faces off.
jeez, okay, yeah, yeah, Texas Chainsaw Leather, Moon Knight there. So I mean, so that's good with it, I think. And when it is Karen comes back, Punisher comes back, like the episode he returns. Those are to me the best moments of the show. John Bernthal and Charlie Cox. If it's not him and Wilson Fisk, if it's him and John Bernthal as the Punisher, I think those are some of the best moments of the series that work really well. So for me, I would give it. I give it a strong tune in. Not a strong tune in, strong streaming would be my thoughts on it. Strong streaming to a lowish tune in. What about you? What would be your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm kind of right there. Um, I'd say strong stream it, not quite a tune in. I think it sets itself up very well for the future, though. It does improve a lot by the end. Those last two episodes I thought were genuinely pretty solid. The Frankensteining of these episodes together from these two different teams and having to recut and re-edit and change footage. It's very obvious. Like it's very obvious that the show was a mess. Uh, that they had to cobble this together. So it is honestly somewhat of an impressive feat that it's even coherent. To be honest, like that is honestly impressive. They were able to make something that there was like a plot line through. So I commend them for that. But it's not able to smooth it over enough that you don't notice it. And I still think they make some very, very, very cheap choices at the beginning. So it's uneven, but I'm very curious to see where it's going to go.
Hmm. And yeah, especially if I think it ends really well too. I think the season finale is pretty good, so it does leave you like, okay, I really want to see what's going to happen in season two. And season two, there's set photos, so he is going to be wearing the double D's. The double D's are going to be there, so he's
You
going to
know?
have that. People have been wanting that for him to wear that, and it seems like
Now
he's
we
going to.
just got to have them spell it out in gasoline at crime scenes.
Yeah, maybe hey, maybe that's gonna be his thing. Yeah, maybe he's gonna do that. Throw back to the 2003 Daredevil there. And it seems like he's gonna wear his Shadowland costume there.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm very curious where they're going with that because Shadowlands it's an interesting comic. It's got a really great opening, and then they kind of mislead you a little bit about what it's going to be, and then it ends up not being as interesting as it seems at the beginning. But maybe they could do a better version of it, or kind of fix the mistake of the comic there.
Mm, okay. So yeah. Two highest streamings for Daredevil Born Again. And we're gonna get into a spoiler review, just discuss kind of the other things that happen in the series there, how it sets up season two, and get into all that. So yeah, so Foggy dies there. We saw that the first episode that kind of caused the rift there. We see kind of like I said, the Mayor Fist thing goes on. Um, and we see that slowly he's turning back into old Wilson Fisk. He's going to be the criminal mob boss Wilson Fisk again. He's tired of trying to play nice with all these yuppie rich people there. Like he's just going to take it by force, and he turns New York into basically Escape from New York. He's basically sealed off the whole place. Nobody can leave in or out. He's instituted martial law. He's instituted this basically rogue police force, as I stated in the previous review there, where he's has his own kind of unit where he goes out and kills for him and does everything, all the dirty shit for him there. With that, he's completely just kind of taken over there. You got to, of course, suspend disbelief that this mayor could do all that, and
Right.
I guess no other forces could come in. I guess you just got to suspend disbelief there. Sure, but okay. But yeah, so you have that kind of going on, and it forces, I guess, Matt into one of the worst positions I guess he's been in the whole series there, where it's him against not only Fisk, but basically the whole city and police force of New York there, which the police force in New York is, I think, one of the, I
I
think
mean, it's
money,
big place.
it's pretty big. New York spends more money on its police force than most countries spend on their entire armies. So you got that kind of going on. Yeah, and you see the return, like I said, of Punisher there because you have these new people coming up who are using his name and using that. So you see that kind of come up. Karen comes back there as well, and we see
It's a
her.
great example of the Frankensteining that we're talking about because when Karen comes back and they have like, their chemistry is great immediately, but they really do not even approach giving a reason for why she was gone or like refused to even speak to him.
Mm,
Like they didn't even approach having a conversation about it.
yeah, it's really. I mean, they try to give something because they have that argument. I forgot was what episode was that they had that argument at the was it the courthouse or something or uh
In 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 that he has with Karen or that he has with
yeah, we has with Karen with their
that
argument.
was the first episode.
Oh, that was the first
And
episode.
where she just kind of won't she just won't explain herself to him.
Yeah. And it seems like, I don't know, maybe that she's mad at him for maybe giving up being Daredevil or something. I don't know. It's not really clear.
It's yeah, and it
Uh
seems like she doesn't care anymore now too. So
yeah.
we may never get an answer to that.
Yeah. And it seems like I don't know, they're trying to do like a love triangle between her and Punisher and Daredevil, Matt.
I hope not because I just don't. Her relationship with Frank feels much more sibling like.
Yeah. Like I always thought the stuff relationship with Punisher and her with Frank was always more like little sister, big brother type thing, not really romantic. So I
Yeah.
yeah. Has Punisher had romantic interest in the comics? Love interest?
Um, he's like had like proteges, but I I can't think of an example at least.
Mm, okay. Yeah, because I don't know really a major Punisher love interest myself.
If there is one, it's escaping me. He's I mean he takes that death right so hard, and I feel like he's consistently kept to a probably he's probably got like a vow of chastity or something.
Mm, okay, yeah, that would kind of fit for him there. Uh, yeah, so you got that. Yeah, and you see that yeah, they're fighting off. They're gonna order basically a kill on Matt. They're trying to kill him, so he has to fight them off there. You
That apartment scene I think is the best action scene in this show.
That is a great sequence, and it's like a half beat up Matt because he always stays beat up. He's always beat up there. Um, yeah, that is always the thing. So what did you think about the finale of the season and kind of where all things led?
I think the last episode is the best episode. It that one really made me feel like I was watching the Netflix show a little bit, and that I feel like it was the first time in the season that I it really kind of comprehensively felt that way in like scene to scene. There would be moments like I think Punisher's scene in I want to say the end of episode 4, and that was a very good scene. But it wasn't consistently that level across the whole episode. But here I felt like it was kind of the whole thing was consistently this good. The chemistry between Matt and Frank, I think, is great. Karen finally coming back, even though they hand wave the problem a little bit and don't really discuss it, she still just fits into that character so well and is able to just bring a lot of warmth to the show.
Mm.
Uh, and I like the setup for where to go in the next season. But what made me laugh is Matt says to her, "Well, we need our own army. Like this is too much for me to just deal with by myself." And I'm like, "All right, he's gonna call up Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, and but then when he like dramatically like walks out into the closed bar, it's like a bartender, three beat cops, and a journalist." And I'm like, you might need more here. I don't know if this is quite
Yeah.
what I picture when I hear the word army, but all right.
Yeah. Which a lot of people, yeah, there's been memes about that of like where are they now in the kind of in the series there, because they're all in every superhero is New York. Doctor Strange is what, like how many blocks away
Yeah.
is he? Like he's
Oh,
the
yeah. Well,
uh,
and Spider-Man, like
Spider Man.
what was he doing during that blackout?
Like it was like because this is the difference between, I guess, doing a live action stuff, because like that scene in X-Men 97 where there's that whole blackout.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
like you had every hero. You had Daredevil was out there, and you had everybody was helping, and like you saw
Stephen
everything.
Tony at the White House, and yeah, they have people all over the place.
Yeah, so you had that, but it's like no, it's like nobody. It's like you remember that group you were hanging out with? Yeah, like of all those
I
people.
mean, and I think I had a long conversation uh, with my cousin about this right after the episode. But why wouldn't you bring in Luke Cage in particular? Because the didn't he get elected mayor, or was he going to run for mayor or something at the very end of that show? So
I don't remember. Actually, I don't remember that. Yeah. I
maybe
know.
I'm remembering that wrong, and he just took ownership of the club. But I thought he was like aiming for political office at the end there. If I'm remembering that wrong, never mind, I guess. But if I'm right about that, you give him like a political rival angle with Fisk, and I mean that could be pretty interesting.
Yeah, because it does happen in the comics, right? He does become mayor in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
comics.
So yeah, there's the image right there.
Yeah. Because I think I remember at the end of Luke Cage, it's like he's trying to do like
Kind of a
it's-
Angel season 5.
yeah, that's a good comparison. Yeah, like he's like, okay, I'm gonna be kind of a bad guy to like control the element, because I can't stop all of it, but as long as I'm the head of it, I can contain it and control it, of the evil of that. So yeah, that's basically kind of what he's doing at the end of season 2.
I feel like what they're doing at the end of Born Again is like the perfect type of storyline for where Luke Cage was at the end there for the last time we saw him. It's like a really good place for him to be in this storyline.
Mm, yeah. So I think if they can get him back, I think there's rumors that Kristen Ritter maybe is going to be there. I think that those rumors are pretty strong that she's going to come back as Jessica Jones there.
It would just make sense. The way they set it up with martial law and citywide, this complete like blackout that happens. And to me, there's no way these characters don't come together because who's going to be your army? Cherry? Cherry's not.
Yeah, yeah. Who is he? Yeah, who's he taking out? Yeah, yeah.
He's not going to be any help.
At least Joe. I mean, at least Joey's the bartender. I mean, hey, we need a hideout. We need a place, I guess. So.
To hide out. I think she could probably take more people in a fight than he could. Looking at him.
Yeah, I mean, she probably had to throw a couple of drunks out. Yeah, so probably had to do
Well,
that.
that's what's funny too is like was it episode 6 or 7 where maybe even 8 where he goes to see Josie in the bar the first time, and when she gets up and is like, somebody needs to talk to you, and Sherry sits down, I was like, oh god damn it, I was enjoying this scene.
Uh-huh. You thought it
Yeah,
was.
I'd rather just hang out with the Josie character. Like she is genuinely more dimension to her.
What about there was that with Angie Kim. Do you like her better?
With Angie Kim, I'm sorry, which one was she?
She was the Asian female cop.
Yeah, did she do a whole lot in the show?
Well, not. I mean, not a whole lot. I mean, she was the one that helped investigate the serial killer, and
Right.
yeah.
She didn't even really come up on my radar, to be honest, as like a significant character. I guess she just felt like police officer, kind of stock police officer.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? In some of these, you could have had at least at the end when he goes into the bar, you could have at least had like Brett there.
Who Brett?
Brett Mahoney, I think was his name. He was the main cop that Foggy would always go to and
Oh, the
sought
black
there
cop.
for information. Yeah, I liked him a lot. That's like a great like minor supporting character, where like not super big, not super important to the bigger arcing story, but when he shows up, he's got a real personality, and yeah, it's like there's nobody in there.
So this is Angie. This is her.
Okay. Yes. No. Yeah. Yeah. Now that I'm looking at her, I definitely remember her being there.
And then there's the guy you love, Jared. There's him. Um, then I don't even know who the other people are. I don't know who the other. This is three random beat cops right here. I don't even.
Yeah, just a couple good cops that are like, all right, we're going to work with you to fight the bad ones or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Like if it, like I get that there's logistics and practical scheduling with the actors, but you could have made a pretty big headline splash if you had like the defenders lined up there
Oh yeah,
at the
of
end.
course.
I
Yeah.
mean, that would have been, and maybe that's just not the direction they're even trying to go in season two. Maybe it's not, but I don't know. To me, it would have been a smart way to get people hooked for the next part.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe this. I think because Mike Coulter. I mean, I think he's still doing that like CBS show.
Is he
Evil.
okay?
He's still doing. Maybe he's still doing that. I think Kristen Ritter. Well, she was just in Sonic, 3, I think, or something. So I don't know. I don't know what other stuff she's doing.
I'm sure she's ready to come back then.
Then there's what's that actor who played Iron Fist?
Finn
Finn
Jones.
Jones. Finn Jones.
He's currently doing interviews where he's saying, "Give me a chance, please."
Yeah, he says, "Yeah, give me, man, give me another chance, man. Look into your heart, man. Like, come on, man, I can do this, man." I don't even remember.
I'll be fair, and I will say this in the second season of Luke Cage, there's that one episode that they bring him over, and even though in his own show they never did it, in that Luke Cage episode, the writers of the Luke Cage show actually seem to understand what the personality of the Danny Rand character is supposed to be. It was the one time I did actually like him in the role.
Yeah, I did like him. Whenever he was with Luke Cage, he was better. Like even the Defenders, when it was just the two of them off
Yeah.
together, like they actually were pretty good together because they had a
So,
bond and everything like that. So
I mean, you could maybe give him a chance, and as long as you are like, okay, but you and Mike, all your scenes are going to be with Mike Coulter. Like you two need to be together. As long as that's a rule, I feel like you could maybe do something with him.
yeah, yeah. So there's that. So I don't know. And then of course they can't bring in Spider Man. Of course,
I mean, yeah. It's just the logical I mean, I get the practicality of the actors and the contracts and the different formats between film and television, but the in-universe logic of it makes Spider-Man look like just a really bad at his job, honestly.
yeah. And then they're not going to address it in the movie or anything like he does. That's going to be
Probably not.
Uh,
Yeah, well, Daredevil was in the last movie, so I don't know, maybe.
yeah, he was in last, and I think I don't know. Vincent D'Onofrio said that Kingpin can't show up in the movies or something. I think he said.
Yeah, I saw him say that. I mean, I assume he knows what he's talking about, but I don't know why that would be the case if Daredevil can show up at like I don't know why there'd be a difference between the rights to those two characters because the only thing they've been in together, or the only thing that either character's been used in live action, was this show, and whatever contract that was, that didn't stop Daredevil from showing up in the movie. So yeah, I don't know why there's that weird exception.
Yeah, so I don't know. But of course, they can always make out a deal and everything like that. If people pressure enough, they probably can.
Right.
So there's that setup again. Like I said, martial law, everything. He has to have this army to go against Fist there. Punisher gets captured, even though it doesn't make any sense why he was still alive at the end.
Oh no. Oh, that was some like Saturday morning cartoon logic for a villain. Like, especially with Kingpin being, he's supposed to be so smart, and we've seen him be so smart and ruthless and strategic about things throughout this version of the character. And for him to not have Frank Burt killed right away is like that is just a massive failure. And like I just maybe there is a way to write it where there's a reason for him to keep him alive, but as it is, it just seems like, yeah, just a really dumb like cartoon supervillain move to just be like, "Wow, I'm gonna lock you in a cage instead of take care of the problem." Like Fisk tried to have him killed by like 30 guys in the second season of the Daredevil show, and he made it through that and still came at him afterwards, right? So he knows how dangerous he is. Like, and to prove that, he's out by the end of the post credit scene.
Yeah. So that didn't make any sense because at first it's like okay because we saw I played that scene where he kind of goes in and fights this whole army of cops and he's like killing them all and then they sit him down. It's like okay they give him a choice. They're like hey we look up to you, we respect you. You're our hero. You got a choice. Hey,
Right?
why don't you come with us? You get to do what you do. And he's like, of course, and punish away. He says, of course, just fuck off. I'm not gonna do that. It makes no sense for them not to just kill him right there.
No.
It just
The
doesn't make
only if there had been like another scene of Kingpin ordering them to kill him, and maybe some of the cops are like they're so fanatical they like refuse the order as a group, and then because all his muscle is like, no, we're not, or like they're making a decision to like not follow an order. That maybe could have worked, but it seems like Kingpin is fully aware of the fact that they have him alive. So
yeah. So yeah, this is like the scene here. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't really make any sense of why they wouldn't kill him. And the way he escapes too is like such a comical way. Like he's talking to one
oh
dude,
yeah,
he's like, "Hey man, where you from, man?" He's like, "Oh, I'm from Australia." It's like, bro, what? So, and then what he
yeah,
asked
that
me,
was weird.
he asked for like a cigarette or something, or
He asked for a handshake.
a handshake. Oh, that's even worse. Yeah, like a
He
full
doesn't even
handshake.
ask for it. It's like a thing. He's just like, yeah, come over and get within. Let me physically get my hand on you.
Yeah, like that. That's even what. Jesus Christ, that's even worse. It's like, come on, man.
There was one more big moment that I thought I felt similarly about, and that was in is it episode 8 when Bullseye gets out of the prison and he just gets on the bus with all the security that work at the prison he's in, and
Yeah,
none of them recognize him.
yeah. He's
Like
like, hey,
it's the prison he's in, and he's famous for being in.
very,
He's
yeah,
like a city famous criminal at the very least.
yeah. It was like a whole manhunt to get this guy.
Yeah. Hey, he was former FBI sniper. Like, I mean, this would have been national news, right? And these security guards are working at the prison he's in, and they're just like, everything looks good here.
Yeah, rough day at the office, huh? It's like
Yeah,
what? It's
that's
like yeah,
like a 2000s video game stealth mechanic like thing where like the enemies are just like 2-second goldfish memory.
I guess yeah, like that was kind of ridiculous. I mean, the escape was cool. I mean, him spitting the tooth and
The way it was done looked great, and how he killed the people as he was getting out, I like all of that. It's just when he gets on the bus outside, and I'm like, no, nobody, not one of these like 20 other security guards here, not a single one of them has even seen him before.
yeah. And yeah, that was a little ridiculous. But again, I mean, hey, it sets up him being out of prison and him escaping. So he's out there in the wild for Daredevil to still go up against there. Um,
And that's a good thing.
yeah. So you got that guy going on. There's that. How did you like the Muse situation?
Oh, I thought that was kind of terrible. I don't think they didn't really do anything with it. That character's got powers in the comics that are cool because they kind of mess with Matt's senses and so he can't be totally sure of his environment like he normally is. Uh, and the character's also got kind of a weird, like sarcastic personality that's kind of funny and playful. He was missing all of it, and it kind of felt like they were trying to almost rip off Daredevil with his one scene where they're trying to like shove everything about the character in the one scene is this therapy session with the Heather character. It feels like they're trying to recreate some of the stuff with Bullseye in the third season.
Mm.
And but it's instead of like slowly and with multiple scenes and showing different stages of his life, it's one like 20-minute scene of exposition where they're just like, here's literally everything we want you to know about this character, and we're gonna kill him in the same episode. So there was no time to there wasn't even really time to care.
Mm. Yeah. I was like, wow, it's over already. It's kind of done already. So they discovered there's a serial killer, and it's really cool. So he's painting all these murals around town, this graffiti art, and then somebody discovers that the murals, and they're trying to like erase them, like power wash them, but they can't because there's blood in the paint, so they can't just
Yeah.
power wash the mural, which is very, I mean, it's very interesting, it's very cool. And we actually see the art is the graffiti. It looks really good. Whoever did that, and then it leads to Daredevil. I mean, I think some of the better fight sequences of the show are done with him and Muse. I think are really good. And this,
Yeah, those are actually cool, like from a choreography point of view.
did you like the one where he fought him in his lair, or did you like the one where he fought him in the therapist's office
I like the one in the layer better.
better? Okay, yeah, that's a good one. There, he has the Hector Al's niece. What's her name? It's got her
I'm
name.
dropping it. But she like goes and that was a little silly how easily she found the lair though.
Yeah,
She
like all
just
these police
buried
looking for
it.
him can't find, and then this little girl is able to find his lair. Like that was
If it
pretty.
had been the Urich's niece, that'd be one thing because at least I know she's like an investigator. But this little girl she's just a teenage girl. She's
Yeah,
just totally like the entire police force can't find this guy, but she can.
yeah. So that was another kind of ridiculous thing there. But so yeah, and that's where we see him kind of suit up. Like he just says like fuck it. And, like he thinks about calling the police. He's like, should I call the police? He's like, nah, just fuck it. He puts on the costume there. And goes out and fights him. So I did think that was really good. I think a lot of the sequences there were really good with him and Muse there. But I just was sad that the way they handled the ending of the character concluded. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't expect him to be gone that quickly. That was a shame there. But yeah, so I thought that. But the performance was nice. I think a little. It was kind of cool.
So of the like the actual actor playing Muse.
Yeah.
I honestly wasn't super into it. I think I just, especially because it just felt like it was all squeezed into this very short, like, kind of one single sequence. Um, and I guess it's just because I've looked at how this character talks and stuff in the comic, and the personality just felt so different that it felt like a little bit more typical of like a TV serial killer character.
Mm, okay. I could see that because it
He's
was.
kind of funny in the comics. Like he's got like a sarcasm to him that's like charming in a way.
Mm, yeah, and it was a lot at once because you don't really get a sense of the like that's kind of the therapy scene is like because mostly you just see him in the mat
Totally.
in the mat mostly it's just that so that's the only kind of really get to kind of see him there. Yeah, and is there anything else really that was kind of big there?
Um, I feel like that pretty much covered everything. Well, I guess there was a reveal I liked too, and I thought this worked well, but that Vanessa was behind
Oh
Foggy's
yes,
murder. I think
that
that's a cool take on it, or to kind of move it in that direction. Um, I also wonder if there's more to it based on her reaction when she was confronted with the information, but I don't know.
yeah. Thank you for reminding me about that the foggy thing. So we learned that because of like why Bullseye intentionally targeted Foggy. Was it just to get back at Matt and him, or was it there was an intention behind it? That seemed like something that's I think where you can tell. I don't know, maybe the reshoots or restructuring of it, where that seemed like something that should have been peppered throughout the season. Like there's little
Yeah.
hints and stuff like, oh, there's a grander mystery to his death, and there's what I mean, and everything like that.
Yeah.
He was kind of like stumble upon something and everything. That seems like that should have been more peppered. That maybe should have been what maybe BB Uric, like her function should have been maybe
Right.
very
Right.
reminiscent of maybe her uncle or something like that, and maybe stumbled upon something like that. But yeah, so you learn that Foggy, he was like accidentally like he had a case, and then with his case, he stumbled upon what Fisk and them were doing with the shipping yards and what they were how like that was going to be a front from a huge criminal empire and everything like that. And he
Yep.
didn't even know what he had going on. And then that doesn't even get revealed until like the last like what episode or two that comes really back into play.
It's literally right at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, that seemed like something that should have been peppered throughout. That would have been an overarching kind of thing there.
I mean, in a lot of ways, with how, again, with how stitched together this is from like two different teams, in some ways, those last like two episodes really feel like they could have come immediately after the first episode or two. Like a lot of what's in the middle could just be kind of you hit the delete key entirely.
Mm. Yeah, so I thought that should have been kind of done there with that. But again, I mean, we're gonna get to see what the creators are gonna do with the full season two, where they're in control and the
Yeah.
writers, and see what they kind of do there.
I have a lot of positive feelings for what hopefully that will be because I think they showed that even in like a bad situation, they were still able to kind of put something together. So if they really, yeah, if they have control from moment one and they know what they want to do, I think we're going to be in for something that's a little more pleasing for everybody and well-rounded.
Yeah. So we'll see that there. So yeah, I'm. It does do a good job at setting up season two and looking forward to a season two and kind of what they're gonna do with that, which I think is really nice there. I will say, I mean, happy for Vincent D'Onofrio. I mean, like I said, I mean, he lost weight. And he looks healthier. Like you see him in interviews and stuff like that. Like looks a lot healthier. I do think he looks a little less intimidating. Maybe as Kingpin, even though there was
I,
that
yeah.
we had the white suit on, the iconic kind of white suit Kingpin.
Mm.
He looked pretty good in the suit. He did look pretty good in that. I thought. So that.
Yeah, I think you're right. Um, but I also think some of it was just that he was written so much less intimidating, and that the way combined that yeah, that's brutal.
I like that dude's face, that face, that thing, like that cop's face. Like he's like this. Hold on, wait a second. He's like, oh my god, like that. I'm like, geez, man, God. But I'm saying, what
Yeah,
was
I no, you're fine. I was just saying I think he's the writing makes him so much less intimidating as well. Um, that I think that like if the writing had done a better job getting his character across, I think you might not have noticed the weight loss as much. But
mm,
because of both the writing, I think doesn't quite do him justice, and that also that weight loss happened at the same time. I think that it ends up having a more drastic impact because of both of them.
mm, okay. He had some couple good moments there. I mean, when he beats up the Adam dude, I think that was his name, right? Adam.
Yeah, in the last couple episodes, I mean, I think the last one in particular, but in the like second to last, third to last, he started to feel like he was capturing that again.
Mm,
I mean, it's meant to be like the end of episode six. Him and Matt both put their suits on, right? Um, and so it starts to kind of come back in episode seven. So you still get it. I just think that you don't get enough of the it's bubbling under the surface like build up throughout the first part of the season. And so it's like for me, it's like a switch is flipped and he's all right. He feels like Kingpin again. But the struggle part I think was what was missing.
mm. I forgot to mention, when they show that at the ending where Fisk's got all these people that are his enemies locked up in a cage. I don't know why he wouldn't just kill them, but he's got them
Right.
all locked up in a cage. I don't know. Maybe he just wants to gloat, I guess, there, or maybe he
Yeah.
wants to use them for their resources because some of them are very rich, powerful
Right.
people.
Those
Um,
ones make sense to keep alive.
yeah, but maybe the swordsman he can be part of Daredevil. He breaks out. Maybe you could have him part of the army.
Maybe. I still am waiting for this character to do something. So
Yeah, you didn't like him in he did something in was it Hawkeye?
I mean, he kind of did, but it felt like he just kind of felt like a larper.
Well, yeah, he turned into actually like he was like, "Oh, what's LARPing?" And he actually and I guess he got tired of
Yeah.
just make believe. And he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna actually go out in the street and do something." So,
Yeah.
the swords.
That character has been odd. He just kind of feels like a rich dude. Like I mean, I guess he's the swordsman, right? They say it here, but yeah, I because in the comics, he's like Hawkeye's mentor and is like trained him at a circus, right, when he was young. And the way they kind of do that character in the MCU, he's just like a rich dude that likes swords.
Mm. Yeah, he just wants to go out and do something there. I mean, yeah, maybe he wants to help. I guess a little bit, but it's
Got
like,
a cave under his house full of swords. He's
yeah,
inspired.
but he could probably do a lot more than just probably just spending his money on research.
Right.
He probably do a lot more if he just did that. But yeah. So that was our thoughts there. Long extended thoughts on Daredevil Born Again. Like that. Two high streaming for it.
And that's a big jump for me.
Yeah, because you were hating on it there the first couple
And I,
episodes.
I would still give those first two episodes the same score I did before. It's just that the other episodes improved as they went, and it definitely balanced it out some. But it doesn't change my opinion on the way it started.
Yeah. So that was Daredevil Born Again.